Hello everybody, this is Trixen from Pop Spectrum, and guess who just got back from the World of Warcraft premiere in Australia? That's right, yours truly, and boy have I been buzzing from the excitement and experience just thinking about the whole night. So with the recent slew of reviews shredding this movie to pieces, were the critics right? I mean, critics were wrong about Star Wars and Fight Club and a bunch of other movies that when they first came out, were absolutely destroyed by the critics. But look at them now, they're huge successes of movies looking back. When I saw those bad reviews, I decided when I went to see the movie, I was going to be fair about my experience. Given that I also play Blizzard games, I have a little extra insight into some of the characters, but I would also try to watch this from the perspective of the viewer who has no prior knowledge of those games. So, does the movie hold up for itself in both those rights? Well, we're about to find out. Here is Pop Spectrum's review of Warcraft: The Beginning. If you have no idea of the origins of this movie is inspired by the Blizzard Games series Warcraft 1, 2, 3, and also to a lesser extent World of Warcraft. Here's a quick summary of the plot. The brutish orcs are a race that live on a planet called Draenor, but their planet is dying. Lacking resources, they are desperate to survive. They create a giant dark portal that is empowered by souls, but only enough to get their strongest warriors over to Azeroth. Their plan is to conquer and capture enough slaves to feed the Dark Portal to bring the rest of their armies and families across. This dark and sinister magic that is used is referred to as the Fel, and not only can it open portals to other worlds, it can be used to give strength to orcs, but also imbues them with a green-colored skin as a side effect. Completely taken by surprise, the humans scramble to assemble their forces to fight this new powerful mysterious foe, requesting the help from anyone from dwarves to other kings and even mage guardians. But will it be enough to fight these new foes? And is all really what it seems with these beasts? The plot follows both sides of the conflict very effectively. Going in, I was concerned they would favor one side more than the other, but you do see both angles. You understand why the orcs are invading, and at times even have sympathy for the way that Durotan and Draka see their people's plight. You also see the danger from the Alliance perspective though, as the orcs are advancing their forces. Being a Warcraft fan and WoW player, I have some insight into how the games and books tell the story. Given that this movie had to condense down so much lore, I can forgive the changes to the story they had to make for time and also movie flow. The changes made also make it a lot easier for people not familiar with the franchise to follow. Another great thing they did with this movie was constantly address characters by their names. It may be a small touch with such a large ensemble, but it allows people not familiar with the story to follow what is going on. One negative thing I must be fair about and say, however, is due to the limit of the time and how big this movie was, there was some pacing issues. The story had so much to cover that at times you jumped around a fair bit, and there were parts that it slightly dragged. But this can be somewhat forgiven, as the whole time you're watching this, you are completely immersed in this world Azeroth. Now on to the characters. There is some terrific acting in this movie and voice acting as well. A concern some may have had after seeing the trailers was if the orcs would hold up to the scrutiny and expectations of fans. I am now going to address that. The orcs from this movie completely did. The CGI combined with the phenomenal voice acting performances make you feel like you're watching living, breathing orcs. None of the orcs' performances felt like they were walking through the part. I felt like the actors did their homework and completely respected the source material without taking the piss out of it. So let's first talk about the Horde characters and the actors who play them, and then we'll go on to the Alliance. So first up, the Horde. Durotan, played by Toby Kebbell, did a wonderful performance. You truly do feel something for Durotan and the Frostwolf clan he leads as war chief. You can really feel how conflicted he is about going to war against the humans, but wanting the best for his son. Yes, he realizes that invading someone's home is wrong, but the alternative is his family starves to death. There are so many unique and subtle facial expressions, and even just with the eyes, I feel like the animators completely captured that from the raw performance of this actor. Anna Galvin as Draka, I really enjoyed her performance off Durotan. Lots of tender moments that really helped, for lack of a better word, humanize her and the orcs. However, by herself, she was not as strong. But who knows, maybe they just didn't have the time to establish her as a character. Daniel Wu as Gul'dan gives it his all. You can really tell how much he enjoyed playing this character. I think good writing also helps a good actor, and through his performance he makes Gul'dan's character the sort of villain you love to hate. It's great to see how twisted by the fell magic he is, and how cruel and manipulative he can be. Clancy Brown as Blackhand, his performance was unique. You do feel slightly intimidated by him. Another interesting thing about Blackhand as a character is that throughout the movie he is constantly sizing up the humans. The way he cocks his head, implying he's curious about humans and itching for a chance just to fight them to challenge his strength. Despite embodying the viciousness of an orcish warrior, he also embodies the strong values of the orcs. Strength and honor. To him, the customs of the orcs are more important than victory at all costs, which I really respected about him. And last of the Horde is Ogrim Doomhammer. To be honest, I feel out of all the orc characters, his was probably the weakest. This could be also due to the lack of screen time and perhaps lines and scenes to round out his character. Without giving any spoilers, I just didn't feel this character's personal conflicts as much as the other characters. There were other clan leaders that made cameos in this movie, but I feel that the ones I chose to talk about had the most influence to the story. If you keep your eyes peeled though, you can see some great cameos in this. Alright, now I've got those Horde characters out of the way, it's time to talk about the others. For the Alliance! First up we have Anduin Lothar, played by Travis Fimmel. Travis was great as this character. He really owned this role and took it on. There are some great interactions between him, Medivh, and Khadgar. And for a movie about war, he delivers some great lines with the perfect amount of humor to lighten the mood, which is really refreshing when you are digesting so much plot. I have only one minor qualm, that we really never get much time to see him and his son's relationship. They have very little time together on screen. Apart from that, he was a solid casting choice and a great performance. Ben Foster as Medivh. I was a little skeptical at first with Ben Foster as Medivh, but that was quickly dismissed as soon as I saw his interactions with Khadgar and Lothar. He completely won me over. Medivh is a complex character if you know his history. He's dark, he's mysterious, kind, but dealing with his own personal turmoil. He is also a character that has many layers to him. And all of this shined through Ben Foster's performance. When Medivh was in a scene, he often gained my attention. Being a guardian, any magic scenes with him were very entertaining to watch. Ben Schnetzer as Khadgar. While he may not have been as strong a presence as Ben Foster or Travis, he was still fun to watch. He felt a bit like the slapsticky character at times, but that wasn't necessarily bad given the serious tone of the movie. He's like the rookie apprentice, clumsy with magic, next to the master mage when with Medivh. Paula Patton as Garona. She had some big shoes to fill playing Garona. This character is a huge pivotal point in the telling of this story. She is the link between both worlds, and even a translator between humans and orcs. She is an outsider in both worlds. Being only half orc, Gul'dan and the other orcs look down on her. The fact that she came to Azeroth makes her a complete alien to the humans, so she struggles to find belonging. So does Paula Patton do her justice? For the most part, yes. It's refreshing to see a strong female character that has vulnerability and is not a damsel in distress. Garona holds her own in battle and contributes to the story without just being a pretty green face. I really enjoyed this character, and Paula did such a great job with her acting choices. The weakest out of the human performances, I feel, was King Lane. For someone who was meant to be a leader, you don't really feel like he is commanding enough, or even assertive or kingly. At best I would describe his performance as pensive and dull. Heck, even his wife did a better job, and she was meant to not even be that big of a character. Ruth Negga, who played Lady Taria, she was kind, stern, insightful, brave, a truly strong female character. And he was, well, The visual effects. The effects were great in this film. If this had been made years prior, it wouldn't have done it justice. Everything to spells, wolves, orcs, it all was excellent and fully immersive. There was only one effect I didn't really like towards the climax of the film, where something Khadgar and Lothar fought that was CGI didn't look as polished. That being said, you can tell that the animators really cared about this movie. The amount of subtle details in the CG makes me respect it so much more. They didn't just go, oh, that's good enough. You can tell it's a labor of love for all the departments, from costuming, design, and even to effects. The locations. It was great when watching this to see the locations in the game brought to life. They really did complete justice. Stormwind was breathtaking and beautiful. We also get to see other locations like Ironforge, Elwyn Forest, Westfall, Redridge Mountains, Burning Steppes, Blackrock Mountain, Linesprite Inn, Black Morass, Orcish Side Dark Portal, and Karazhan. When war is talked about, they name places the Horde are advancing. If you are familiar with the game, you can actually map it out in your head and know what is going on, which is sort of cool. One nitpicky thing I could say, however, was I didn't really like the redesign of Outer Karazhan, but for someone who knows nothing about WoW, that wouldn't be an issue, and it seems more like a personal gripe. The 3D. For a movie that was in 3D, it certainly didn't feel like a cheap gimmick, like they just threw it in to be like, oh my god guys, look, green avatar aliens are trying to get you. There was no, oh look, the orc hand is trying to grab me through the screen, and it wasn't like forced cliche. It really actually complemented the movie well. It was enough to be engaging and certainly draw you in without making you cringe and roll your eyes. The sound of the movie. I saw this movie at a cinema that had Dolby Atmos, I think that's what it was called, and it was one of the few cinemas in Sydney that had it, and holy heck, it made the sound in the movie amazing. The sound makes you feel as if the griffins are flying over your head, which only helps you sink into how immersive the soundscape was for this film. There was a lot of cool moments with the orcs roaring and magic spell effects that synced well with the visuals. And then there was the main musical theme of the movie, composed by Ramin Djawad. I think that's how it's pronounced. When this started playing as the movie started, hairs on the back of my neck started to stand up. I mean, just listen to how epic this sounds. It reminds me a lot of the old login screen mixed with the Ogrima theme, and re-envisioned as some sort of march. Just listen to it. You can picture orcs laying siege to armies, or even just marching along with bulky heavy steps. I really enjoyed the score through the film. Ramin did not just shine on his scoring of the orcs. His score for Medivh was a very beautiful and haunting melody, perfectly capturing the mysterious, strange vibe of the character. I'd never heard Ramin Djawad before, but I will be listening for his future work as someone who loves cinematic scores. So a question people ask, does this movie only cater to fans? I'm sure a lot of people would be worried that this film would be boring to someone who has no previous knowledge of the games. But I do feel like they struck a decent balance between making some changes to simplify the story so it wasn't too political, so that people could follow, but wasn't so far from the original source material that fans would feel deceived. There are some fantastic nods in this movie to the game that fans would appreciate. I recall one scene noticing a summoning stone in the background, and I couldn't help myself but get excited over such a minor detail that no one else would notice. Or another small thing like Khadgar casting a spell and stating that it had a 1-minute duration, just like the game. It made me chuckle, but all these little details don't isolate new viewers. There are some great cameos in the movie on both sides of the war as well. Since I have decided this is a spoiler-free review, I won't state them, but it was interesting to see the small details they put in. So, what's my verdict? When I first heard some of these critics trashing the film, I was disheartened, hoping they were wrong. I can now say with pride, they were wrong. I loved this movie. So much so that I decided I want to take my friends to go see it again. Even ones that do not know anything about World of Warcraft or the extended lore. I thought this movie was so good, I'm going to buy it when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray. Is this movie a masterpiece? No. But I feel like the critics were expecting Lord of the Rings or something. This is just a taste of the potential of the movie series. And after watching it at the Australian premiere, I can see its potential. I know that by supporting this film, the story only gets better, and I want to see what they do with it. So I would encourage people to see it for 2 reasons. 1, it is entertaining. And 2, if you're sick of generic Hollywood blockbusters that have heavily formulaic, predictable, safe beats, this is a breath of fresh air. Pop Spectrum gives this movie for the first time ever 2 different ratings. 3 out of 5 pops for non-WoW fans, and 4 out of 5 pops for Blizzard fans. I hope you enjoyed this review as much as I enjoyed sharing it. This is Trixen from Pop Spectrum signing off, and see you next time. Wait. I just totally forgot. I want to do a competition for this. Seeming Pop Spectrum does posters. We're going to have a Horde and an Alliance poster. 2 copies of each, 4 to be won. To possibly win a copy of one of these posters, just comment below why you're for the Horde or for the Alliance. Thank you for watching Pop Spectrum.
Be sure to like, favorite, and comment on this video, as well as subscribe to Pop Spectrum. Thank you for watching!